Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're talking about yet a couple more cuts that have been made, this time on the defensive side of the football. I am joined yet again by Evan of the Cannon Fire Podcast. If you guys haven't subscribed to the Cannon Fire Podcast already, check them out. They will be in the pinned comment down below. If you guys are new here, by the way, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button if you do enjoy these videos, and leave your thoughts about these releases down in the comment section down below. Evan, let's go ahead and dive right into it. We have three players along the defensive side of the football that have been released. They are Herb Miller, cornerback, Jeremiah Ledbetter, the defensive lineman, and Chris Wilcox, the 2021, one of the two 2021 7th-round draft picks that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had made. So let's start off with Herb Miller. What are your thoughts on Herb Miller and him being released? He was battling for that 5th cornerback job, got an interception in the final preseason game, and now he's gone. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for one thing, I do think Herb Miller will end up back on the practice squad. I think the Bucs do like him. Arians, just like I said, his comments that he made about him, I thought were clear. He said he just didn't progress enough to his liking, and obviously that was before the Houston game. But I don't really think one interception is going to change things. Obviously, the big thing that this signals is almost by default at this point that D. Delaney has won the cornerback job out of those guys. So, I don't even know how many corners you still have on the roster that were battling for such a job, right? Like, there's not many there. So I think almost by default, it's like D. Delaney's got it. So congrats to him. As far as Herb Miller, like I said, I think they like him. They're going to try and keep him on the practice squad. They should be able to do that. I don't really expect any team to pick him up off waivers or to sign him because the one thing is, if you sign somebody from a practice squad, you can't sign somebody from a practice squad and put him on your practice squad. Right. He has to be signed from the practice squad and then put on your 53-man roster. So you can't just you have to guarantee that guy a 53-man roster spot. So I think Herb Miller should be able to be back, and he just flashed a little too late. It's just a little bit too late. And, like I said, he's young. I think this is his second year. He has an actual interception in an NFL game last year versus the Lions. So that counts for something. And I do think they like him. So I think he'll stick around.
Yeah, and you are right, by the way. I do want to say that. I mean, there's nobody left, right? It's D. Delaney. Chris Wilcox and Herb Miller were the last two guys besides Antonio Hamilton. So it's Herb Miller. It's not Herb Miller. It's D. Delaney, right? D. Delaney's the guy who has that 5th cornerback job now, assuming that Ross Cockrell is still in there at 4th cornerback. I agree with everything you said there, right? I mean, Bruce Arians came out and said, hey, he hasn't progressed as much as we wanted to see. And then he went and got that interception right after those comments were made. So, kind of proved a little bit of something there. But like you said, it was just maybe too little too late in terms of that with timing and everything. I do think they still like Herb Miller. I do think that they would still want Herb Miller back on the practice squad. What's going to be interesting is, Antonio Hamilton, do you put him on the practice squad? If he's a vested veteran right now as well, so he can go off and sign with anybody. If they only want to keep one cornerback, do they pick Antonio Hamilton over Herb Miller? Maybe. If they pick two, and then you're going to have a really interesting situation with Antonio Hamilton, Herb Miller, and then the other guy we're going to talk about here in a moment. But I would think that, like you said, Herb Miller is one of those guys who's going to be on that practice squad. He's done some good things in the past, both in the preseason, training camp, and the regular season, like you said, in regards to last year. And yeah, he'll just be a young developmental corner. They are going to have a couple of guys with expiring contracts. Injuries are also a thing that could happen. Knock on wood for that. I don't think another team would pick him up, so he'd be a guy that they would just want to continue to grow, continue to coach up, and call him up to the active roster if they need him. I don't remember him really flashing anything on special teams too much. I know Bruce Arians made a comment or two saying he did, fine at special teams. So we will have to just wait and see where that all shakes up. But yeah, like you said, practice squad, I think that's the expectation right now. The second cornerback that was released, which again locks D. Delaney into this 53-man roster, basically, at least for the time being, Chris Wilcox, 2021 7th-round draft pick. He wasn't the last guy they selected. That was Grant Stewart, who right now is still on this roster. But Chris Wilcox, it was a tough situation, right? He had been dealing with some nagging injuries. He missed some time in training camp. And by the time he came back, it was almost too late. So, what are your thoughts on Chris Wilcox here and what his future may be?
Yeah, I think you said it almost perfectly. Unfortunately, that he had to be dealing with those injuries and missed a good portion of camp. And by the time he got there was already a strong competition going on between Antonio Hamilton, Herb Miller, and D. Delaney. So it was just like you said, just too late. It's a shame. This is the first draft pick of 2021 that they've cut as far as the Bucs class. We'll see if they want to put him on the practice squad. I do think he has special teams upside. I don't really view him as a guy that can actually play cornerback in the NFL, but as far as like a special teams role, I think I could see that. So maybe they do too. I think they would keep probably 2 corners on the practice squad. I don't think 3, so I think you're gonna have to choose 2 of Herb Miller, Antonio Hamilton, or Chris Wilcox. Sounds to me like Antonio Hamilton is going to go somewhere else, I would guess. And I think this is just my guess. I have no inside information on this or anything, but I think they would probably sign Herb Miller and Chris Wilcox back to the practice squad. Wilcox will have no trouble passing through waivers. So I think both those guys would be back. Like I said, I think Wilcox has some potential on special teams. Just didn't get enough of a look of him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you there. He came in too late. The competition was already very much, it was 2 weeks in, I think, right? 2.5 weeks in. So it was kind of like, the guy's already in a tough situation. He's a rookie, and all these veterans are already getting competition going. It was a very, very tough situation to be in where he had very little time to make up a very large gap of play there. So it's going to be interesting, right? Antonio Hamilton. I'm sure the Bucs would love Antonio Hamilton on the practice squad, right? Might not be the case. I could see him going on another 53-man roster with relative ease, I think. So if they aren't able to bring him back, I could see Chris Wilcox, being brought back on the practice squad. Like you said, he's got a lot of work to go through, a lot of catch up, honestly, a lot of catch up time here that he has to get going here in terms of just how to play cornerback in the league, getting up to NFL speed, special teams play, all these things. And I think he would get that valuable time on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice squad. But one thing that I just thought about whenever you were giving your points here was, the situation with Raymond Calais, right? Where I don't remember if he was on the Buccaneers practice squad. I believe he ended up signing on the Rams practice squad, right? And then was eventually promoted to their active roster. I don't remember if that's the correct sequence of events there. He may have been on the Buccaneers practice squad and then signed the Rams active roster there, but we've seen draft picks before get cut by the Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. The Buccaneers say, hey, we want to bring you back on the practice squad. And the draft pick just says, I'm good. No thanks. And then they go somewhere else. And then Jason Light, he's done this before where he just goes, okay, fine. We don't want you, and he just kind of shuts it down. So that could potentially happen here, I'm not saying it to knock Chris Wilcox or anything. It's ultimately their decision. So we will see what happens there. With Chris Wilcox and Herb Miller. If they can't get Antonio Hamilton, then I think they definitely consider Chris Wilcox on that practice squad. But we'll just have to wait and see. There's a lot of different avenues, a lot of different options that could go there. But like you said, the man needs some more seasoning. He needs a little bit more work here in terms of playing cornerback and getting some special teams reps. And I agree with you on that. But, in regards to like the 2021 draft pick being cut, I know some people are going to say, oh man, Jason Light, we're already cutting draft picks here. Look, there have been teams around the league already who have been cutting 5th round draft picks. And I believe even a 4th round draft pick from this recent draft. So like, that's what 7th round draft pick guys are, right? They're flyers. They're let's see what happens here for special teams guys. That is what it is. That's been happening for years around the entire league. I'm not going to knock Jason Light for that, for saying that, a 2021 7th round draft pick got cut, right? He was the 10th to last guy selected here in the draft, so it's, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal, in my opinion, in terms of like freaking out over knocking Jason Light for that.
Oh, the draft used to be even more than 7 rounds. So you used to have even more draft picks being cut. So, I mean, these guys, especially since the Bucs were picking in a late round of the 7th, Chris Wilcox and Grant Stuard might have been projected as undrafted free agents by them. Might not even been projected as draftable. But what you do then? You say, we like these guys and we don't want to compete with other teams to try and sign them. So just pick them.
Yeah, the 4-year
So,
contract, man.
yeah, I mean, that's what, it's you don't want to compete with other teams to sign undrafted free agents. So you just pick them. And that's 90% of your 7th round picks. And even some of your 6th round picks are going to be that. Teams like a guy, maybe don't love him, but just don't want to have to compete with another team to try and sign him. They want to make sure they get him. So, and another note that you did mention, Jeremy McNichols did the same thing. Yeah, any player that we're talking about, we say, oh, he'll probably go to the practice squad. Any player can. It's their choice.
Yeah.
Whether you're a rookie or not, you can choose to say no. Like, you don't have to go to the practice squad. So if the Buccaneers approach a guy like, I know we talked about in the last video, but like a guy like Ryan Griffin about signing a practice squad, he can go, nah, guys, like it's, I'm done here. That's his choice. If they want to go to Herb Miller and say, hey, you want to go to the practice squad, he can say no. And it has happened before. Obviously, Jeremy McNichols declined to go to the Bucs practice squad. He ended up signing with the 49ers practice squad. In that case, you can go to the practice squad. Yeah. But once you sign the Tampa Bay practice squad, you cannot just go to another team's practice squad. You have to be promoted to a 53-man roster.
And just real quick on that too, you can deny signing with another team's active roster and stay on a practice squad. Josh Rosen did that last year with the Denver Broncos, where they wanted to bring him to the active roster. Josh Rosen said, I'm good. I want to stay on the Bucs practice squad for a little bit longer. And, he eventually signed with the 49ers. It is what he missed out on getting a Super Bowl ring, but it's fine. Whatever. I'm over it. So anyway, the last name that we're going to be bringing up here, Evan, and this one, I want to say, to me, it's a little surprising. Right? It's Jeremiah Ledbetter, who, man, he looked good in camp. He looked good in the preseason games. You're hoping the Buccaneers could bring him back on the practice squad, but honestly, at this rate, that might not even be an option right now. What are your thoughts on Ledbetter getting released here?
Yeah, my one hope is that I don't know I think the Bucs maybe got some intel that he might be able to sneak onto the practice squad, because I would hope that if they were to do this move, that like they knew that they were able to get him back. I think they like him. I was a little surprised. I think it was probably between a guy like Ledbetter or Steve McClendon, who it wouldn't shock me if Steve McClendon would be cut. I just think the chances now of him being cut are much lower due to Ledbetter being gone. It's a deep room. Obviously, Pat O'Connor definitely made the team. So, I mean, there was already one spot. You have Ndamukong Suh, you have Will Golston. Obviously, Nacho's there. Khalil Davis has really shined, which really didn't help Jeremiah Ledbetter. So those types of guys, and I think maybe they just preferred the veteran McClendon over Ledbetter. I'm not really sure. I think the Bucs would love to keep him. We'll see if they're able to. I, again, thought he had a strong camp in preseason. Slightly surprised, but at the same time, I kind of understand their reasoning for it.
Yeah, I really did think, that there was some talk. I saw a lot of people talking about it from a lot of different avenues, saying like, hey, Steve McClendon, what's going on with him? He's not playing. This is a weird thing. I believe Scott Reynolds had pointed it out on Pewter Report. So
didn't play a single snap versus Houston.
Yeah, I really thought Ledbetter had a chance, right, over Steve McClendon. That's why this is kind of surprising to me. But like you said, they like that veteran presence of McClendon, possibly, and then Khalil Davis and Pat O'Connor, they did just as good, if not maybe a little bit better than Ledbetter, especially in the case of like Pat O'Connor. But I really think that Khalil Davis and like Ledbetter, they were neck and neck, man. They really were neck and neck, I think. And we'll see. We'll see if they can stash him on the practice squad. He's one of those guys like a Jaydon Mickens or like a Ryan Griffin where it's like, man, this one ain't guaranteed. This one ain't guaranteed. We'll see what happens with him. I don't know if he's a vested veteran. So he might be a vested veteran. I think he's been in the league since 2017. So he might not even be subject to waivers. That might be one of the biggest reasons as to why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers decided to make this move, is because, it's like, hey, no team can claim him. He's got that option to go do whatever he wants. So we'll see, right? We'll see at the end of the day what they want to do here with Jeremiah Ledbetter. And to me, this one was pretty interesting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. And you make a good point there with if he cannot go to waivers, that maybe that puts a, more incentive for the Bucs to be able to do this, because obviously a waiver, A waiver claim. What do you got? Is he subject to waivers?
2017. So he's not subject to waivers.
Okay.
He's technically a vested veteran. I believe, at least according to what I've been seeing, is players from 2017 do count as vested veterans now. So he won't be subject to waivers, I believe.
Okay. So that could gave the Bucs more incentive to do this because waivers, obviously, if you're claimed on waivers, you're claimed on waivers. There's nothing you can do. You can't refuse that.
Right.
If you're claimed on waivers, you are going wherever you get claimed. So there is no say in that. But if you're a vested veteran, you just become a free agent, and the Bucs maybe feel like they're able to just sign to the practice squad. So maybe this was a case where they were confident. And like I said, Ledbetter is a solid player. A little bit surprising, but at the same time, I understand the reasoning for it.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see what they do. Again, this is probably going to be a pretty fluid situation. If they are able to keep Ledbetter on the practice squad, he's one of those guys that I think could get called up at some point along the line during the regular season, right? So, again, this one to me was a little surprising, but we'll see what the Buccaneers end up doing here with the remainder of their defensive linemen. Could very well mean a guy like Steve McClendon ended up making this 53-man roster, so we'll have to wait and see. But, guys, let us know your thoughts about these not final couple of releases. There's still a few more moves that got to be made, but let us know what you think about these releases down in the comments section down below. Evan, before we go ahead and finish off this video, do you have any final words?
Yeah, go check out the Can of Fire podcast on YouTube, the show. Haven't done a show in a few days. Don't worry. We're coming back soon. It's just a slight absence. And then also Can of Fire watch party November 14th at Barry House. It's versus the Washington football team. The Bucs are on the road that week. So we're going to be hosting it at Barry House. Brett's going to be there. I'm going to be there. And James will actually be there as well. So come hang out, have a good time. Also going to have Wing Box there supplying the wings, some great wings. So more information on the Can of Fire podcast social media pages as well as the YouTube channel there.
Absolutely, and I'll post the link to the video giving more information on that, as well as a link to the Can of Fire podcast YouTube channel. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope y'all enjoyed. We should have maybe 1 or 2 more videos, 2 at the most, talking about some of these final moves that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to make, getting down to their 53-man roster here by 4 p.m. They have 40 minutes to give their 53-man roster, so yeah, we'll have 1 to 2 more videos coming out with that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed, and we will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.